In a far corner of the galaxy, there was a proud alien empire. Its ships were faster than light. Its weapons could destroy moons, and its science could heal wounds that humans could only dream of. Among these powerful aliens lived a woman of high rank. She was a respected scientist, feared in debates, and known for her sharp words. This woman had one belief stronger than anything else. She thought humans were weak, small, and useless to her. Humans were fit only for cleaning the halls of alien stations or carrying tools for real workers. She often laughed when she saw them, saying to her friends, "Humans are slow, humans are clumsy. Humans are not worthy of space," and her friends agreed because in their empire, humans were treated like servants, but inside her heart, the alien mother carried a secret pain. Her child, a young daughter, was born with a disability. The girl's legs were weak, her body fragile. Alien doctors tried everything: machines, medicines, and surgeries, but nothing gave the child strength. The mother was filled with shame. In a society that valued power and perfection, her daughter was seen as broken. The alien mother loved her child deeply, but she hid her from others. When she walked in public, she walked alone. When she spoke in meetings, she never mentioned the little girl, but in the quiet of her home she wept, holding her daughter close, whispering promises that one day she would find a cure. The mother's work was at a great research facility. The place was full of glowing machines, alien scientists in long robes, and walls that hummed with strange energy. And among the workers there was one human, a janitor. He pushed a cleaning cart, mopped the shining floors, and carried buckets of water. No one looked at him. No one cared for him. He was invisible. The mother especially disliked him. Every time she saw the human janitor, she thought, "Why does this weak creature walk in the same halls as me?" A scientist, a leader of minds, she never spoke to him. She only looked away, thinking that the empire had fallen low to allow humans even this much work. But her daughter noticed him. The little girl sat in her hover chair, silent most days, but her eyes followed the human. She watched how he whistled while he worked, how he bent down to help when something fell, how he smiled even when others ignored him. There was something simple and warm about him, something different from the cold faces of alien scientists. One day, when the mother was busy speaking with other scholars, her daughter's chair rolled slowly down the hall, and she stopped near the janitor. He looked down, surprised, then smiled. "Hello there," he said gently, his voice soft. The girl blinked. She had never been spoken to like that by anyone outside her family. The janitor bent down so his eyes were level with hers. "Do you like stories?" he asked. The girl nodded, shy but curious, and so he began to tell her a small story. A human story about courage and friendship. His words were simple, but the way he spoke made the girl's eyes shine. For the first time in weeks she laughed, a small sound but real. When the mother returned and saw this, her face turned cold. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice sharp. The janitor stood respectful. "I was only speaking to your daughter, nothing more." The mother pulled her child away, glaring. "Do not waste her time, human. She does not need your weak stories." The janitor only bowed his head and went back to his cleaning. That night, however, the mother could not forget the look on her child's face, the sparkle in her eyes, the soft laugh. It haunted her. She told herself it was nothing, that humans could not help, yet deep inside, a small doubt was born. The next day, the girl again rolled her chair near the janitor, and again he smiled. He picked up a toy she dropped, handed it gently, and spoke another story. The girl's small hands clapped. Her laugh echoed down the hall. Other aliens looked in surprise, for they had never seen the child smile so freely. The mother's anger grew, but so did her confusion. She asked herself, "Why does my child respond to him? When even our greatest doctors fail, why does a human janitor succeed where machines cannot?" She tried to ignore it, tried to hide it, but every day the bond between her daughter and the janitor grew stronger. The mother stood in her laboratory one evening, staring at a screen full of complex data, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought of the human's voice, the child's smile, and the shame in her own heart. She clenched her fists, whispering to herself, "Humans are inferior, they must be, they have always been." Yet her heart trembled. She did not know it yet, but this was only the beginning. The janitor she hated, the man she ignored, would soon challenge everything she believed, and change the future of her child and perhaps the entire empire. The research facility was always alive with noise. Machines hummed, scientists argued, and the halls shone with alien light. Yet in the middle of this place full of brilliance and pride, the little girl felt invisible. Her hover chair moved quietly, and no one stopped to speak with her. To most of the aliens, she was a shadow of her mother's shame. But to the janitor, she was not invisible. The first time he noticed her, she was struggling to reach for a small crystal toy that had rolled under a bench. Her tiny hands stretched, her face twisted in frustration, but her weak legs could not push her chair closer. The janitor placed down his mop, knelt, and gently picked up the crystal. He placed it in her palm, smiling. "Here you go," he said softly. The girl blinked. Her big alien eyes wide with surprise. No one outside her family had spoken to her kindly before. She whispered a thank you. Her voice barely heard. The janitor tilted his head. "Do you like shiny things?" he asked, pointing at the crystal. The girl nodded, hugging it to her chest. From that moment, a strange connection began. Every day the janitor passed by. He greeted her, sometimes with a wave, sometimes with a small question, and slowly the girl began to wait for him, her eyes always searching for the man with the cleaning cart. The mother noticed. Her face grew darker each time she saw her child lean forward. Smiling at the human, she hissed in private, "He is a janitor, nothing more. Why does my daughter waste her time on him?" But no matter how many times she warned, the girl's chair always found its way to the janitor. One afternoon, when the halls were quieter, the janitor stopped near the girl's chair. He sat on the floor so his eyes matched hers. "Do you want to hear a story?" he asked. She tilted her head, curious. "What story?" she asked. The janitor's smile widened. "A story from Earth about a small bird with broken wings." His voice was gentle, his words simple. He told how the bird could not fly like others, how it was mocked and left behind, but how step by step it learned to hop, to climb, to sing so beautifully that all the forest listened. The little girl listened with wide eyes, her heart beating faster when he finished. She clapped her hands softly, laughing. "The bird was strong," she said. The janitor nodded. "Yes, not because of wings, but because it never gave up." The girl's laugh rang in the hall, and for the first time, other workers turned their heads, surprised to hear joy from the child who was always silent. That night, the mother scolded her daughter. "Do not waste your time with him. He is human. He is beneath you." But the girl's small voice rose. "Mother, he makes me happy. He treats me like I am not broken." The mother froze. Those words pierced her heart. For all her science and knowledge, she had never given her daughter that feeling. The next day, the girl asked the janitor a question. "Why are you always happy?" He chuckled, scratching his head. "Because I know life is hard. But smiles make it lighter." She frowned. "But people laugh at you," he shrugged. "Let them laugh. It costs me nothing to be kind." The girl's eyes softened. She whispered, "I wish I was strong like you." The janitor leaned closer, his tone serious but gentle. "You already are, little one. Strength is not only in legs or arms. Strength is in heart." Her eyes glistened. She had heard many doctors speak, many scholars lecture, but no words ever touched her like these. Over the weeks, their bond grew. The janitor told her more stories, not of battles or machines, but of ordinary people on Earth. A farmer who fed a whole village during famine, a teacher who gave knowledge even when poor, a child who protected a stray dog from bullies. Each story planted seeds of courage in the girl's heart. The mother watched with hidden eyes. Her confusion grew. She told herself it was dangerous, that humans were sly and weak, yet she could not deny what she saw. Her daughter's face glowed with joy. Her hands moved with new confidence, and sometimes, the girl even tried to push her chair with her own strength. One day, while others walked past without care, the girl tried to move her chair over a small bump in the floor. She failed. Her arm shook. She almost cried, but the janitor bent down, not to push, but to encourage. "Try again," he said. "I am here." She tried again, sweat on her forehead. And finally the chair rolled over. She gasped in delight, her small voice shouting, "I did it." The sound echoed through the corridor, and for the first time pride filled her chest. The janitor clapped, smiling. "See, you are stronger than you think." And in that moment, the girl believed him. The mother's heart cracked that day. She stood at the corner unseen, her eyes wet with something she had not felt in years. Hope, but instead of thanking the human, her pride burned. She stormed back to her chamber, whispering, "No, it cannot be. A human cannot give my child what I could not. This must end." But deep down she knew it was only the beginning. The janitor was changing her daughter's life. One small story, one kind word at a time, and no wall of pride could stop it. The mother could not sleep. She walked through her private chamber, her eyes burning with frustration. She replayed every moment in her mind. Her daughter's laughter, her daughter's small victories, all connected to that human janitor. It made her heart twist with anger. How could someone so low, someone she considered worthless, bring more joy to her child than she, a great scientist, ever could in her empire? Humans were seen as tools. They cleaned, they carried, they obeyed. They were never teachers, never healers, never friends. The mother repeated these words to herself like a shield.
Humans are inferior. Humans cannot lead.
Humans cannot inspire. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw her daughter smiling at him, and the shield cracked. The next morning, she watched as her daughter's hover chair rolled quietly down the hall, heading towards the janitor. Her fists tightened, her voice sharp. "Enough," she said. Stepping in front of them, the janitor froze, his cleaning cart beside him, his hand still gripping the mop. The girl gasped, "Mother, please," but the mother's eyes flashed like fire. "You," she hissed at the janitor. "Stay away from my child. You have no right to speak to her. No right to touch her life." The janitor bowed slightly, calm and steady. "I only wish to help," he said, his voice humble. "I never meant harm." The mother's voice grew louder, echoing across the hall. "Help? You are a janitor, a human. You cannot help, you cannot heal. You cannot give her anything but false hope." Her words cut through the air like a blade. The little girl's eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak, but her mother raised a hand, silencing her. The janitor did not argue. He did not shout back. He simply lowered his eyes. "I understand your anger," he said quietly, "but I see your daughter's strength. She only needs someone to believe in it." The mother's jaw clenched. His words stung, not because they were rude, but because they were true. "Silence," she snapped. "You will not see her again." With that, she turned the hover chair away, her daughter crying softly. The janitor watched them leave, his face calm but his heart heavy. He knew the child needed hope, yet now he was being pushed aside. That evening, the mother sat in her laboratory, staring at glowing screens full of medical data, alien formulas, and genetic codes. She told herself she was right. Only advanced science could help her daughter. Not human stories, not human kindness. But as she scrolled through the endless data, all she saw was failure. Years of attempts, endless tests, and nothing had worked. Her daughter's soft voice broke her thoughts. "Mother," she whispered, "why are you angry?" The mother turned, hiding her trembling hands. "Because he is human. Because he is nothing." The girl shook her head, her eyes bright with innocence. "But he makes me feel strong. He makes me believe." Those words pierced deeper than any blade. The mother turned away. "Belief is nothing. Only science is real." But her voice shook. She felt her own doubt rising. Days passed. The mother tried to keep her daughter away from the janitor. She ordered guards. She changed her daughter's schedule. But the child always found a way. Sometimes a small glance, sometimes a quick word. The connection could not be broken. And each time the mother saw it, her anger burned hotter. One afternoon, she stormed into the janitor's path, her robe flowing like fire. "Why do you persist?" she demanded. "I have forbidden you. Yet you still look at her. Still speak to her." The janitor placed his mop aside, meeting her gaze with quiet strength. "Because she is a child who deserves more than silence." The mother's chest tightened. His simple words carried more weight than entire libraries. She spat back. "You dare lecture me? A human dares lecture a scholar." Her pride roared inside her, yet her daughter's soft hand tugged at her robe. "Mother, please, let him stay." The child's voice cracked with desperation. For a moment, the mother's pride and love battled inside her. She wanted to pull her daughter away forever, to lock her in safety, to protect her from weakness. Yet she also remembered the light in her daughter's eyes. A light only the janitor had given. Finally, she spoke coldly. "Very well, he may speak to you. But know this, human. I am watching you. I expect you to fail, and when you do, I will remove you myself." Her voice was like ice, her pride still unbroken. The janitor bowed. "I ask for nothing. Only the chance to help her see her own strength." His calmness unsettled her. He was not afraid, not angry. He simply believed, and that belief was a challenge to everything she knew. That night, the mother sat alone, staring at the stars through her chamber window. She whispered to herself, "Why can he touch her heart? Why can he succeed where I cannot?" Her pride answered, "Because he is a trick. Because he offers false hope." But her heart whispered something else. "Because kindness is a power you have forgotten." The mother clenched her fists, torn between rage and doubt. She had allowed the janitor to stay, but only to prove him wrong. Yet deep inside, a shadow of fear grew. What if he was right? What if the Empire was wrong? What if humans were not inferior after all? And as the stars burned above, the mother realized that her anger was not only against the janitor, but against the truth she could not face. The days began to change slowly, almost too quietly for anyone to notice at first. The mother kept her sharp eyes on the janitor, always waiting for him to fail, yet the failure never came. Instead, something else began to grow, something she could not explain. Every morning, the janitor passed by the little girl with a smile. He never forced her to do anything. He never pushed too far. Instead, he offered small challenges. "Can you hold this cup?" he asked one day, placing a light container in her hands. The girl's fingers shook, the cup slipped. But instead of scolding, he encouraged, "Try again," and she did. And slowly, she held it without dropping. The mother watched, her lips pressed tight, her mind filled with anger and confusion. Alien machines worth millions could not train her daughter's hands like that, yet a human janitor had done it with patience and simple words. Another day, the janitor placed a ball on the floor. "Do you think you can roll it to me?" he asked. The girl hesitated, her arms weak, but she tried. The ball rolled only a short distance, but the janitor clapped as if it was a great victory. "Perfect," he said. "You did it." Her face glowed with pride. Each small moment built upon the last. The girl began to laugh more, to move more, to believe more. Her eyes were no longer empty shadows. They sparkled with life, the other aliens noticed. Whispers spread through the halls. "The child is smiling," they said. "The human is with her." The scientists laughed at first. "It is only play," they said. "No true progress." But then the progress became harder to deny. The girl lifted herself slightly from her chair one day, her arms trembling, but she managed to stand for a breath before falling back. The corridor fell silent. The janitor knelt beside her, smiling. "That was amazing," he whispered. And she beamed with joy. The mother's chest tightened. She wanted to be proud, but pride battled with shame. How could her daughter achieve this, not through alien science, but through human encouragement? She walked away quickly, her heart in chaos. One evening, the janitor sat with the girl in the quiet hall. He placed a small human toy in her lap, a wooden figure of a knight. "This is from my home," he said softly. "It is old, but strong." The girl traced the carved lines. "A knight?" she asked. The janitor nodded. "Yes, a protector. Someone who fights not for glory, but for others." She held it close, whispering, "I want to be like that." From then, every day she tried harder. Every day she pushed her limits. Her small victories became small miracles. The mother began to notice the change in her daughter's eyes. The girl no longer begged to stay hidden, no longer whispered in shame. Instead, she looked forward, asking questions, dreaming of things beyond her chair. Yet the mother's pride was still unbroken. She told herself it was temporary, that humans could not truly bring change, but doubt grew inside her. She remembered the laughter, the standing, the stories, and deep inside she feared the truth. The turning point came during a public visit. The girl was present in the great hall, the janitor nearby with his cart. As the mother spoke with fellow scientists, her daughter suddenly pushed against the arms of her chair. Slowly, shakily, she stood. For the first time in front of many, gasps filled the air. The girl swayed but remained standing. Her small voice shouted, "Look, I can do it!" The hall fell silent. Every alien stared. The janitor's eyes shone with pride. The mother froze. Her words caught in her throat. For a moment she wanted to hide, to pull her daughter away. But the look on the child's face stopped her. The joy, the courage, it was undeniable. Later in private, the mother confronted the janitor again, her voice low but sharp. "You are making her believe she is stronger than she is. One failure will crush her." The janitor shook his head. "No, one failure will teach her. Strength is not the absence of failure. It is the courage to try again." The mother turned away, her heart pounding. She wanted to scream, to deny. But part of her knew he was right that night. She watched her daughter sleep, the wooden knight clutched tightly in her small hands. Tears touched the mother's eyes. For years she had searched the stars for a cure, and yet a simple human with a mop had given her child something greater than medicine. "Hope." The Empire began to murmur louder. Some mocked. "The child learns from a janitor," others whispered. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as we believed." The mother felt the walls of her belief trembling. But instead of surrender, her pride grew sharper. She whispered to herself, "This is dangerous. This human gives her hope, but hope is fragile. If he fails, she will break. I must protect her." Yet deep inside, another voice whispered, "Or perhaps he is building her strength." The mother stood at the edge of two paths, one of pride, one of truth. She did not know which she would choose. But the miracles were growing and the Empire was beginning to watch. The Empire's station floated above a red planet, its walls of metal shining like a jewel in the void. The mother worked inside the great laboratory. Her daughter sat nearby with her small wooden knight, and the janitor moved quietly through the halls as always. Everything seemed normal, but fate does not stay quiet for long. One evening, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed. The walls shook, voices shouted, "System failure! System failure!" The mother grabbed her daughter, confusion in her eyes. She rushed into the corridor as other scientists ran past. Panic filled the air. Something had gone terribly wrong. The central power core was overheating. Alien voices trembled with fear. "If the core collapses, the station will burn," someone cried. Machines hummed, sparks flew, doors sealed shut. Chaos spread faster than fire. The mother clutched her daughter, her mind racing. She looked at the glowing screens full of warnings. The alien scientists shouted technical codes, typing furiously. Yet nothing worked. The crisis grew worse by the second, and then came the accident. A sudden explosion rocked the floor. Part of the ceiling cracked. Rubble fell. The little girl's hover chair was thrown against the wall. She cried in fear, her small body trapped under debris. The mother screamed, rushing forward. But the fire blocked her path. Her heart broke, her mind blank. She shouted for help. The other aliens hesitated, afraid of the flames. None dared to cross. The girl sobbed, calling, "Mother, help." But the mother could not reach her. The smoke stung her eyes. Her hands shook for all her knowledge. For all her science, she was powerless. And then, through the chaos, the janitor appeared. He pushed his cart aside, grabbed a heavy cloth, and ran straight into the fire without fear. The mother screamed, "No, you will die." But he did not stop, his eyes only on the child. He lifted the debris with his bare hands. His skin burned, his arms trembled, but he did not give up. "Hold on, little one," he said, his voice strong even through the smoke. The girl reached out, tears on her cheeks. "Night," she whispered, clutching the wooden figure. The janitor pulled her free, lifting her into his arms. He shielded her from falling sparks and carried her through the smoke, coughing, stumbling, yet never letting go. When he emerged, the mother fell to her knees, grabbing her child, both safe, both alive. But the danger was not over. The power core was still close to collapse. The scientists shouted, "We cannot fix it. The system is too damaged." Panic rose. The Empire's brightest mind stood frozen in fear. The janitor, still catching his breath, looked at the glowing panels. He did not understand alien science, but he understood machines. Years of fixing small human tools had taught him patterns. He saw the flow of power, the way circuits connected. "Show me the manual controls," he said. The aliens stared in shock. "You cannot," they shouted. "You are human. You know nothing." But the mother, still holding her daughter, whispered, "Do it." The janitor moved quickly, pulling levers, turning valves, using nothing but instinct and courage. The scientists gasped. That will overload, but instead, the alarms quieted, the core's glow dimmed, the shaking slowed, the station stabilized, silence fell. The disaster was stopped. For a long moment no one spoke. The only sound was the soft cry of the little girl as she hugged her wooden knight. Then the whispers began. "A human saved us. The janitor saved the child. The janitor saved the station." The mother's heart pounded. She stared at the man she once called inferior. He stood burned, tired but alive. He had done what no alien scientist could. He had saved not only her daughter, but the entire station. She stepped forward, her pride trembling, her voice breaking. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you risk your life for her?" "For us." The janitor looked at her, his eyes calm, his voice simple. "Because no child should suffer. No life should be lost when it can be saved." Those words echoed louder than the alarms, louder than the whispers. They cut through the walls of prejudice like fire through paper. The girl reached for the janitor, her small voice soft but clear. "You are my knight," she said, and hugged him tightly. The hall fell silent. Every alien stared, their belief shaken, their pride crumbling. The mother's eyes filled with tears, tears she had hidden for years. She bowed her head, unable to speak. Her mind shouted that she was a scholar, a leader, that humans were weak. But her heart whispered the truth. This man, this janitor, had shown more strength than all her empire combined. For the first time in her life, she did not know what to believe, but she knew one thing. She would never look at humans the same way again, and far above the red planet. In the silence of the stars, the Empire began to question, if one human could save them all, what other miracles were hidden in their kind. The station was quiet after the crisis. The alarms were gone, the smoke cleared, the glow of danger faded, but the memory of what happened still hung heavy in every heart. People whispered in the halls. They spoke not of the scientists or the generals, but of the human janitor who had saved them all. The little girl stayed close to him now, her small hand gripping his sleeve whenever she could, her wooden knight clutched tightly in the other hand. She looked at him not as a servant, not as a cleaner, but as a hero, and in her innocent voice she told everyone who would listen, "He is my knight, he saved me." The mother watched, her pride heavy like chains. For years she had told herself humans were weak, yet here was proof standing before her eyes. The janitor was burned, tired and covered in soot, but he still smiled, still walked with steady steps as if the danger had not broken him. The other aliens began to bow their heads slightly when he passed, a small sign of respect they had never given a human before. It was quiet, subtle, but it was real. Whispers grew stronger. Perhaps humans are not useless. Perhaps they have a strength we do not understand. The mother stood at the center of this storm of doubt, her mind full of battles, her heart full of questions. She remembered every cruel word she had spoken, every insult, every time she had dismissed him as inferior, and now those words weighed on her like stones. She found him one evening, sitting alone in a quiet corner, repairing his mop, the same tool that had made him invisible for so long. She hesitated, her pride screaming at her to walk away, but her daughter pushed her hoverchair forward, her eyes bright. "Mother, say thank you." The mother's lips trembled. It was harder than facing fire, harder than facing war, to bow her head to a human, but she forced herself to speak, her voice low, almost breaking. "You saved her, you saved us all. I was wrong." The janitor looked up. His face calm, he shook his head gently. "I did nothing special. I only did what was right." His words were simple, yet they carried more weight than the longest speech. The daughter laughed. "He is humble," she said proudly, "but he is strong." The mother's chest tightened. She placed her hand on her child's shoulder, and for the first time she whispered, "Yes, he is strong." From that day forward, the bond between the janitor and the child grew stronger. He continued to help her with small steps, lifting her spirit as much as her body. She began to walk a few steps with his support, each step shaky but full of courage, and each time the aliens around her gasped. The whispers grew. The Empire, proud and cold, began to see what it had ignored, not machines, not weapons, but the quiet power of kindness and patience. The janitor never demanded respect, never asked for recognition, yet it was given to him by those who once saw him as nothing. The mother herself began to change. Slowly, painfully, she still felt the pull of pride, the need to prove her people superior, yet each day she saw her daughter smile. Each day she heard her laugh. She knew the truth could no longer be denied. One evening, as the stars burned outside the station, the mother sat with her daughter and the janitor. She asked softly, "Why do you never hate us? After how we treated you, after all the words we threw?" The janitor looked at her, his eyes calm. "Because hate cannot heal. Only kindness can. Your daughter needed kindness, so I gave it." The mother fell silent, her throat tight. She had spent her life chasing knowledge, building machines, seeking power. Yet a human with nothing but a mop and simple words had taught her a lesson greater than any science. Her daughter leaned against her, whispering, "Mother, I feel strong now, not because of machines, but because he believed in me." Tears filled the mother's eyes. She kissed her child's forehead, whispering, "Yes, my little one, you are strong." News spread beyond the station to other colonies of the Empire. The story of the human janitor who saved a child and stopped a disaster reached far and wide. Some laughed, some denied, but others began to wonder, if one human can do this, what else are they capable of? The mother knew the change was only beginning. Many would still reject humans. Many would still call them weak, but she herself could no longer lie. She had seen the truth with her own eyes. She watched the janitor as he walked down the hall, her daughter beside him laughing, taking slow steps on her own, and for the first time the mother bowed her head, not in shame but in respect. The Empire had always believed that strength was found only in power, in science, in perfection, but now a single human janitor had proven that true strength could also be found in patience, in courage and in love. And as the stars shone above them, the mother whispered to herself, "Perhaps we are not as great as we believed, Perhaps humans hold a greatness we have forgotten. Her heart was heavy, but also lighter than ever before. The Empire returned to calm after the Great Crisis. The halls of the station glowed once more. The machines hummed smoothly, but something invisible had changed. Whispers spread across every corridor. Whispers about the human janitor who had saved the child and stopped disaster. For the little girl, life was no longer the same. Each day she grew braver. She pushed herself to stand longer, to take small steps. Her laughter filled the air like music. Aliens who once ignored her now paused to watch, their eyes wide with wonder. The mother stood beside her often, her heart heavy but also lighter than before. She remembered how she once hid her child, ashamed of weakness, but now, when her daughter walked a few steps with shaky legs, she felt nothing but pride, and always by the child's side was the janitor, his hands steady, his words simple, his kindness never failing. He did not act like a hero. He did not boast. He simply lived each day as he always had, cleaning the floors, telling stories, and lifting hearts. The Empire's leaders called for a council. News of the humans' deeds had reached far and wide. Some leaders demanded punishment. It is dangerous to give humans credit, they said. It will make them think they are equal. Others whispered differently. Perhaps they are not equal, perhaps they are more. The mother was summoned to speak. She walked into the great hall, her daughter by her side, the janitor standing quietly behind. Alien eyes watched her every step, waiting to hear her judgment. For a long moment the mother said nothing. Her pride battled her truth. Then she looked at her daughter, the little girl who smiled now, who believed in herself, and the mother bowed her head, her voice soft but strong. "I was wrong," gasps filled the hall. She raised her head, tears shining in her eyes. "I believed humans were inferior. I mocked them, I despised them, yet this man, a janitor, gave my daughter what I could not. He gave her courage. He gave her hope. He saved her life. He saved all of us. If this is weakness, then perhaps weakness is greater than strength." The hall fell silent. Her words shook the walls more than any weapon. The janitor stood quietly, his eyes lowered, but his presence filled the room like a beacon. The council ended in whispers, some resisted, but many began to question their beliefs. The Empire had always judged worth by power, but now they were forced to look at humans differently. The little girl became a symbol. The child who once hid in shadows now walked proudly with her knight, her wooden figure clutched in her hands, and wherever she went people stared not at her weakness, but at her strength. The mother changed as well. She no longer spoke with sharp cruelty about humans. Instead she began to listen, to learn. She still carried her pride, but it was no longer the same pride. It was tempered with humility. One evening, she found the janitor cleaning the hall. She stood beside him quiet for a long time, then she said, "I used to think strength was only in science, only in power, but now I see strength is also in kindness, in patience, in the courage to believe when no one else does." The janitor smiled. "Then you have seen more than many." The daughter tugged at her mother's robe, her eyes shining. "Mother, will humans and our people be friends now?" The mother's lips trembled. She looked at the janitor, then back at her daughter, and whispered, "Yes, if we are wise, they will not only be friends, they will be family." From that day, the Empire began a slow change, not overnight, not easily, but step by step, just like the girl. The story of the janitor spread across the stars, carried by voices who whispered, "A human saved us. A human taught us strength." And in quiet corners of the galaxy, where humans still worked as servants, hope began to grow. They heard the story and stood taller. They whispered to each other, "If one of us can change an empire, then perhaps all of us can change the future." The mother often watched her daughter and the janitor together, walking down the hall, laughing, telling stories, and she whispered to herself, "He was the one I called weak, yet he was the strongest of us all." The Empire had thought humans were dust beneath their feet, but now they looked at them with new eyes, not as servants, not as tools, but as beings who carried a hidden fire, a fire that no machine could create, a fire that could light the darkest halls. And as the stars shone beyond the station, brighter than ever, the mother finally understood. The greatest power in the universe was not in weapons or science. It was in compassion, in kindness, in the belief that even the smallest act of courage could change the fate of many. The story ended not with war, not with conquest, but with a truth that echoed across the galaxy. Sometimes the strongest knight does not carry a sword. Sometimes he carries a mop.